It's beer o'clock on Real Ale Craft Beer. Today we've got a beer that's been brewed for Lidl. It's part of their Hatherwood Craft Beer Company's series of beers. This one's been brewed by Stewart Brewing Company up there in Scotland. And this is their Upstate Pale Ale coming in at 5% ABV. There's a look at the bottle cap. Without further ado, let's get this beer out into a glass and see what we get. Ooh, a nice bit of smoke on the bottle opening. Beer in the glass. Always check if it's a bottle conditioned beer. I mean, I very much doubt a beer at about £1.50 a bottle in Lidl is going to be a bottle conditioned beer, but for me it's always good to check. It doesn't take a second to stop your pour towards the end where there's an inch of beer left in the bottom of the bottle. Give it a little swirl round, chuck it in just in case. I think at this stage of my beer drinking journey it's habit anyway. I've always done it ever since I first got started reading beer books. And was fascinated by the bottle condition or the second fermentation process. I was like, what's going on? What's all this? 11, 12 years ago. Becoming really interested and finding out a whole new world about beer. I've always swirled that bottle. I've always chucked in that little bit of sediment that might be in the bottom of the bottle. It's all full of vitamin B. I always get mixed up between D and B. It's always full of vitamin B if it is a bottle conditioned beer, which means that the beer is going to be, or that little bit of sediment is going to be really healthy for you. Chuck it in your glass. Don't matter what it looks like. The head's dissipated quite quickly on this one. Slow moving carbonation. It's a amber, slightly hazy amber coloured ale. Now I will say, I pulled this out the fridge about 25 minutes ago. It is still on the cold side, so ideally I want to warm this beer up just a little bit, just in case that the beer is a little bit too cold and the flavours that should be in the beer don't get pulled through because of how cold the beer is. It needs to be, basically beer needs to be about 6 or 7 degrees and above to be able to pull out all of the flavours in the beer. That was a long-winded approach to it. I haven't put my nose into this yet. Let's get the aroma. It's exactly how I was expecting the aroma to pan out with this beer. It's that kind of, it's almost like a generic supermarket aroma from a pale ale, from a bitter, from a best bitter. They also always seem to have this slightly generic, tinny, metallic, quite sweet. There's a big level of sweetness coming through. There is a nice flavour pulling through though. There's a nice grapefruit and lemon hop aroma coming through on this beer. With an orange peel, tangerine. So sticking to that American pale ale kind of feel to the beer. Let's dive in. Cheers everybody. Yeah, that slight generic aroma, that slight generic supermarket aroma. Well, when I talk supermarket beers, I don't want to confuse people. There's two types of supermarket beer now. There's your £3 for £4 bottles in your your Asda's, your Morrison's, your Tesco's, your Sainsbury's. which that's the type of beer I'm talking about. That slightly kind of coppery, metallic, sweet, generic tasting beer. But not to be confused with the £3 or £4 cans of craft beer that go into the supermarkets these days that are absolutely terrific. They are really, really good quality beers. Then there's another story. There are some not very good £3 or £4 cans of beer, but that's a complete other story. But generally, it's a much better quality of beer, the £3 or £4 can of craft beer in the supermarket. So in terms of this, I'm not talking about the generic taste with that £3 or £4 can of beer. I'm talking about the £3 for £4. This is all getting very confusing now. I know, I can see it on your faces. £3 for £4 bottles you get in the supermarket, which they all seem to have a certain acceptance. It kind of is brewed in the brewery. It's brewed for a price, a cheap price, and then yeah, that tastes all right. That'll do. That'll do for the price point. And I think this is one of those beers, to be honest. It's there's no off flavours. There's nothing particularly wrong with the beer. It's just, it's that'll do attitude. You know, that'll do for the price point. And I suppose it's biscuity and malty and bready and hoppy and slightly orange peel and tangerine. There's a little bit of bitterness coming through on the back end. I think I've covered it enough, haven't I? I think I've covered it enough. I think by explaining the fact that it's one of those that'll do £3 for £4 style beers in the supermarket, even though it's in Lidl, they don't do that deal. Lidl, it's probably about £1.20, £1.50 a bottle. This it's brewed to a budget. It's definitely brewed to a budget. It's a shame. Upstate Pale Ale is pale in colour. The nose is rich with fresh citrus aroma from American hops. The taste is light body with moderate bitterness and tangy grapefruit flavours. Try this very drinkable pale ale with your favourite Mexican dishes. Okay. Where'd they pluck that one from? Mexican dishes. Marketing, eh? The marketing teams. Well done to the marketing teams. Yeah. Yes. Everyone's going to pop out now and buy themselves a nice Mexican dish with their Upstate Pale Ale. Rating. Sorry if I've come across slightly negative in this review. I do apologise if I have come across a little bit negative, but I'm all about trying to bring you great beer. There's nothing wrong with this beer. It's brewed for a price. If you're a fan of the loads of biscuit malt in your pale ale, then you'll probably like that. You'll like these biscuity, bready flavours, combined with that kind of orangey, tangerine hop flavour. But for me, it's not clean enough. It's not clean enough. It's not... I like my hops in my pale ales these days really, really light. I mean, so they're just producing the sugar. They're just doing a job. They're just doing the job. They're producing the sugar that then gets turned into alcohol by the yeast, and then the hops do all the work. So I want as much light, clean tasting malt in my beer as possible these days, rather than biscuity, chewy malt, and then you're whacking in American hops, because the American hops have to work harder to produce the flavours that you want on your palate, because they're fighting against all that sweetness that's in the beer, all that breadiness, all that biscuitiness in the beer. Rating. It's a 6 out of 10. 6 out of 10 from Real Ale Craft Beer. Please put your comments in the comments box, subscribe to our daily beer and food reviews, give us a big fat thumbs up. Boom, cheers.